Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grow With Us. My name is Evan Barton, and I'm your host who helps create conversations with the innovators and leaders of a growing tech center in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The Grow With Us podcast highlights the work of community leaders, tech entrepreneurs, nonprofit professionals, and talent development advocates in Tulsa. Grow With Us is a podcast of In Tulsa. In Tulsa's mission is to connect talented individuals and companies to stimulate economic growth in Tulsa and to create more prosperous communities across the region. Each episode, Grow With Us discusses the growth of opportunities, the growth of communities striving for change, or the tech and innovation that is changing the landscape of Tulsa. On this episode of Grow With Us, we converse with Amber Sharp, the CEO of ClaimRev. ClaimRev is a Native American, woman-owned medical claims clearinghouse founded and situated here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Amber and I discuss our Indigenous identities and entrepreneurship, the American Indian Chamber of Commerce of Oklahoma, and the Native American Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator. Wado Amber. Welcome to another episode of Grow With Us. I'm super excited to be here with Amber Sharp today. Amber, welcome to Grow With Us. Thank you for being here. I love hearing my language. I love other people hearing our language. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm super excited to get into everything that you're doing in your world and how our worlds intersect. I'm feeling very Indigenous today. I'm feeling Indigenous and proud. But thank you again so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Wado, for having me. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, go ahead and tell our Grow With Us audience your story in whatever way you feel comfortable.
Sure. Well, Chichalagi, I am Cherokee. I'm also the CEO and founder of ClaimRev. I'm the only Native woman-owned medical claims clearinghouse, but I'm also kind of CEO of my Sharp clan. I have 5 kiddos, and my husband and I, they range from like ages 9 all the way to 1.5 with a set of twins thrown in there. And yeah,
you left that part out earlier. We love twins.
Well, yep, I've got all girls, and my last one was a boy. So it's been great to take that multitasking skills that I've learned there and transfer them to business.
Yeah. I love that you said you're the CEO of your client.
Because it's all on the mamas.
Oh, absolutely. I think, I only aspire to motherhood because it probably won't happen. But I think I've done this on many episodes of the show, but just really always shout it out to the moms that they're the only reason any of us are here. So give it up for women.
Amen. Yes.
So I'd love for you to kind of tell us your relationship with Tulsa. How does Tulsa play into your story, your family story, and how has it changed over time for you?
Well, actually, it's my whole story. I was born and raised here. So I grew up in Catoosa, right outside the Cherokee Nation reservation. And I went to Catoosa schools, but ended up graduating at East Central. And it's just been amazing to see that growth because I think we have everything from different seasons of life. I've seen the hungry entrepreneur phase with all the accelerators ramping up and co-working spaces. And then now that we have the gathering, I was just there last weekend. That's family friendly. So I started out as an angsty teen that couldn't wait to get out of Tulsa. And now I call it home, especially since we've been able to get that tech hub designation. It's brought more validation, especially since I'm starting a tech company here. So it's just been fabulous to see our growth more into 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, every time I hear 2024, I'm like, I don't believe it. 1 year from 2025.
Yep.
That's the future. No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that our stories align. I was born in Tahlequah and moved to Tulsa with around like age 9. So did pretty much elementary, middle, and high school here. And everyone was, and I even think the city was in a way kind of pushing me out to bigger, better things.
Yeah.
And for me to be where I'm at now and that not to be the case is really interesting. And I think it's something that the city looks, hopefully, if you want to give it all this autonomy, I hope that the city recognizes that was a shift that needed to happen.
Oh,
there are
definitely.
bright minds here that we need to further foster, nurture, uplift instead of say it's always going to be better elsewhere. And I think that's crazy to see that change happen in such a short time.
Well, grass is always greener, and we can pull that into our own backyard. Win-win.
Mm-hmm. I'm jumping back into a little bit of your response too about the gathering place, this place, the geography of Tulsa. I think that that's something too I've seen play a part in my adult life, and you kind of mentioned it kind of in proximity to your children too. What how do you think your experience of growing up here is different from your kids, just in the land and the place?
Oh, there's so much more to do.
Yeah.
I was bored and got into too much trouble because of that. Now, yeah, they foster that community activities, and I have more things I can place my children in to give them more of that connectiveness.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that we need to keep doing that. I hope it keeps going. We love the Gathering Place. There's also Discovery Lab too.
Yes, that was packed when we were there. That's great to see.
Oh my gosh.
Much better spot.
It's really, it's a really cool area.
Mm-hmm.
Let's kind of jump into, your business. And this is really exciting to talk about. I mean, you kind of mentioned some things at the top about being the first Native woman in this space, for which I want you to clarify that statement to the correctness. But according to your LinkedIn, you started your organization ClaimRev in 2019. I'd love for you to share with our audience about the company and the problems that it seeks to solve.
Sure. Yeah, we established our LLC in 2019, but we didn't actually start onboarding until 2021 because the set of twins and COVID kind of hit in the middle of all that. Plus, we did it all bootstrapped, and we're co-founded with me and my husband. He's the brilliant tech. He does tech and I do everything else.
Yeah.
So we've been able to grow ground up and really be organic in our reach. And it's been amazing because it all founded because I was a nurse here. And when I worked at Cancer Treatment Center of America, I believe we struggled a lot and maybe ultimately came to the closure of the place because we couldn't secure a Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma contract. So just seeing one aspect of a struggle with one payer could affect the facility and therefore patient care.
Yeah.
Really, my husband we just looked at each other and like, we can make this better.
Yeah.
So we jumped in trying to see if we can help providers on the other end. So now instead of being bedside, I am desk side.
Yeah.
So that's been a shift.
That is so interesting. So my stepmom she's kind of more on the provider side. She just started her business this past couple of years. And the biggest challenge is getting the billing, getting the money, getting providers to pay out codes for different things that she bills as a provider, and the space that she works in particular.
Considering there's over 3,000 different payers and they can all have their own different regulations.
Exactly. She works in the autism treatment space. And one of those codes, or a combination of those codes, is not recognized by many providers as billable. Which it's like, okay, so she does free work.
Yep. That's what it ultimately comes down to. Yeah, those little nuances. If you can get with the right clearinghouse, they can personalize that claim experience. That way, none of that little edit on that claim could save all those from being rejected. Yeah. So it just speeds up your revenue cycle. Which
is so cool.
It shows how important the other side can be.
Absolutely. It's the desk side, as you mentioned, is so important to it. Well, that's amazing. I think that experience at a place as meaningful as cancer treatment. I've had family members be treated there.
Magical place.
Yeah, and still in operation under a different name. And I love to see it
come back alive. Yes, Council Oak and being Native owned there is great to see the life back into it.
Yeah, I hope. Is it considered IHS?
I think Creek Nation has it.
Okay, cool. Well,
Muskogee Nation, I think they're like
IHS in Tulsa is like something we've needed for a really long time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But that's awesome. I mean, you're on a journey, and I'm sure it's felt like that. A journey in motherhood, a journey in entrepreneurship. It's kind of sounds like there's the technical side that your husband and co-founder works on, and then there's kind of that business and really understanding like the whole process and how to the project management side of it. That's the part that I feel like I'm kind of falling into in my own entrepreneurial journey as well. So it's really interesting to see how our overlapping circles, which maybe I've already used that, but I think it's ways that we can find similarities in each other.
Connection.
Absolutely. Well, I'd love to hear, speaking of entrepreneurial journeys, what are some of the challenges that you've overcome? What is a piece of advice you would share with someone looking to start something? I think something that I would further qualify this question is there are, or at least I hope, there are many Native women out there that are looking to be uplifted in this entrepreneurial space and to be finally validated instead of ultimately excluded, as it's been happening in to many different types of people, but specifically to Native women. I'd love for you to kind of share what that experience for you has been like, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to do that. My journey has definitely been a lot of challenges and some victories because it was a learning curve. And I'd hate to say that my hardest moments were all self-inflicted with my self-doubt and fear of failure. So my advice would be to embrace your failures, learn from other people that have failed worse than you, and then correct your path and don't forget your why.
Yeah.
That way you always see your destination and not so much all the pitfalls that you're going to go through. And having other fellow women to latch onto that are going through it, that's been the most uplifting for me. So the Cherokee Nation Woman Accelerator, our tribe had the first cohort of it. And it was an honor to be a part of because now that I've graduated out of that, I have 4 other women that are going through it because it's been kind of a lonely road. I don't know of any other women that are building companies and building families at the same time. So no one else gets that struggle.
Yeah.
And it's good to be validated and uplifted in that because I believe in my industry, especially being tech and everything, women, everyone tends to talk to my husband and not directly at me.
Yeah.
But since I've had more Native support and, Cherokee women are the matriarchal backbone of most families.
Yeah.
So I'm getting more respect and for myself and from others now that I'm embracing my heritage and being proud of it.
That's awesome. I thank you for sharing that. And I know that that's another piece where we overlap is like this understanding who we are, where we came from, and how to embrace that. I think it's something that for me, being in Oklahoma, it's something I've always known. And I was born on the res and had that experience. But I think that being born on the res in 1997 and the cultural landscape that was versus where we're at now is almost night and day in some ways. I mean, of course, I wasn't there in the same headspace or the same awareness at the time, but my parents were, and it wasn't easy to connect to culture. It wasn't easy to, I don't think that there was any organizations outside of the tribe that was trying to connect people to their culture.
It was all, yes, nothing to be proud of. Man, I can't believe your family signed the Dawes Rails.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, yes.
Yeah, almost throwing the shame back on Native folks for existing or for surviving. And that's something that as I have come to explore my identity, understand it, claim it, know it, it's been something that I've been the most proud of, which is, I love that for me. I hope this doesn't sound great, too self-indulgent, but as a queer person and as an Indigenous person, I have so much pride in both of those identities, and they're essentially tenets of both of them. For queer folks, we have pride because we survive, and if you can't say the same thing about Native people,
yeah, that is true.
Yeah, it's been really cool, and I'm glad to know that experience isn't isolated to myself. It's something that many people within my generation are feeling and have had the opportunity to explore. And you're doing it with grace.
Well, I do.
So you mentioned some of these folks that are part of your Native American Women Entrepreneurship Accelerator program.
So there's actually 4 other girls, and one is Latoya. She's doing Because I'm a Nurse, and it's a nursing dose calc app that's helping to prevent medication errors. And then there's Prevention Pantry. She is actually trying to incorporate more native, organic, culturally appropriate foods and doing catering and just fun creativeness. Yeah. And then there's also Motor Mouth Therapy. She's a pediatric in-home therapy service. So, because kids always learn best in their own environment. And that's been amazing to see her meeting them there.
Yeah. That's amazing. These women sound awesome. We'll try and shout them out as well in the show notes.
Yes.
I think that would be
and there's
really
also
cool to
Andrea. She just changed the company name from JobWorks. It's a swipe right app to help connect employers and employees together. So
Awesome.
That way everyone knows their pay, transparency, and just help get positions filled faster.
That's amazing. It sounds like Native women really know where they need to be and how to do it, which I love. We'll absolutely find a way to shout those folks out again. I think that's an awesome program. Do you know any more about when the next cohort is potentially?
No, I would love to see that because it also came with a grant.
Okay.
So that was great to spearhead our businesses and give us a little more runway.
Absolutely. And I bet that journey has been
amazing considering, lots of growth coming our way.
Yeah. And we wish you all the best in that for sure.
Thank you.
One of the last things I'd love to touch on with you, Amber, is about the American Indian Chamber of Commerce, which is something that I've had a couple interactions with as, I guess the way that we'd call it is like a native non-member, because I wasn't a member. My organization wasn't a member until recently. We joined Campus Tulsa, we are a non-native organization, but we are a member now of the American Indian Chamber of Commerce. And I think that's the best way that I could describe it. But you are now a sitting board member. So I'd love for you to kind of tell us a little bit more about your involvement and about the organization and its mission.
Yeah, ACO, I am able to jump in and serve it any way I can see because I've actually seen the direct impact it's made within my business, having that native support. So if I can pass that out there to native businesses, I mean, it's a win-win. Together we rise. So there's no reason not to grow together. And then also the fact that they keep your heritage at the forefront of all business and economic discussions, it's an amazing thing to see and great to be part of.
Yeah.
Especially as I'm trying to also start a sharp native tech kind of workforce development program. So I'm wanting to take on natives that need a little more software development skills or want to grow so that they can go to larger companies in Tulsa and outside of Tulsa and demand higher pay.
That's amazing.
Considering there's not very many native developers.
Yeah. I know of a couple folks that have graduated from the Atlas School through their time and are native, of course. But yeah, that's really interesting. We have our Venn diagram. It just keeps adding our overlapping circles because a lot of this work really aligns with what I've been doing in the ecosystem and what I've had exposure to and all of those things. So I keep that in mind after this.
I will, yes.
But ACO's been really awesome. Jumping back into that, I had the opportunity to go to the gathering a couple years ago, which was really interesting. I love that.
Fuzzy of community and togetherness.
Oh my gosh, I know. Say that. Which I want to know too, or I'm curious from your perspective. When I went to the gathering in 2022, the perspective that I was informed by was essentially, this tech entrepreneurship workforce development that's kind of going on here in the downtown Tulsa area, whether it's through the George Kaiser Family Foundation or just our various suite of programs down here. But going to ACO was so not tech focused from my perspective.
Small business, legacy companies. Yeah. That was refreshing to see though, because you see heritage and generational knowledge coming into play that can serve our communities.
Absolutely. I think it was notable in the sense that it had its own continuity in where everyone was coming from. But also
2022? That was the year I was there. Yeah. I didn't get to go last year.
Yeah, was it 2022? So many years have passed. It might have been 2021, which I do think that we did it in 2021 at River Spirit. But yeah, it was really interesting to kind of navigate that space with only my knowledge of who I was and then knowledge of what I came there to really experience, and to not see that, and then to question why, or to question how what I was doing could intersect with those folks. And now within 3 years, there's people like you that are involved that are bridging that gap.
Pushing more for seeing big picture. So federal contracting, I came away from there with a few mentors in that space because there's just not enough that goes towards ISB, Indian Small Business Set-asides. Yeah. So with the Buy Indian Act, anybody that can involve and get the wealth spread and increase our sovereignty is amazing.
Absolutely. Ooh, sovereign. We love that word. We love a little sovereignty moment. And I think that what an interesting landscape for that to develop over the past couple of years. We've had McGirt be a huge thing in Indian country and in Indian country more broadly, but specifically for us Oklahomans here on the ground. Now I'm going off of our script just because I'm curious and I'm enjoying this conversation. But how has McGirt impacted you, or what is your conception of it? Because and these are, I think I'll just caveat a lot of this to our audience out there. These are things that have been litigated at the Supreme Court, and they affect us here, and they affect us in their interpretation of which is different between me and you and whoever's listening and those justices on the Supreme Court. So I'm just curious about your experience with that.
Well, it's not only legislation that is affected. I think the more I connect more with is the one with the being able to place children only with natives. Yes, that one was hit home for me a lot more. Oh, time out, because I forgot the name of that act.
Indian Child Welfare
Thank
Act.
you. I just blanked on it.
Oh, you're good.
Okay.
It's the degree.
Yeah, it's amazing. So the one that I actually connect with too is the Indian Child Welfare Act. Just being able to see that children are placed within their culture and being able to grow up with traditions is amazing to see that we're protecting that for the next, because our traditions are what make us feel connected to our relatives. That's why, I'm not completely fluent in Cherokee. I'm taking lessons. And I really think even just that little bit of language that I can introduce when talking to other people that gets them asking, and just proud about that, because there's only 1,500 fluent Cherokee Native speaking leaders that are actually here. It's an endangered language now.
Yeah, I find that really interesting in so many ways. ICWA being something that you obviously need to think about as a mother. The legacy of that, protection for Native women and their children is rooted in boarding school era, folks being purposefully removed from their traditional homes, culture destroyed, and kill the Indian, save the man. I hope everyone's heard that phrase, because for good or for bad, we always have to
learn
do that
from
with
our past.
Exactly. Us as Native people, I feel like we've always had to confront kind of that unfortunate truth that we weren't supposed to be here, or they didn't want us here, and we still are. The resilience in that, and so I find the knowledge of that being shared. It's something that I find a lot of similarities to kind of the Black Wall Street and Tulsa kind of narrative, that like you have these groups of folks that someone didn't want here, and it's not just someone; it's a specific group of folks that we hope are not continued to be emboldened in this society, but it still happens in many ways. But I think the resilience in those stories that we can tell are meant to stick with us. They're meant to be a part of how we navigate going forward, how we understand why like now I'm really losing it. But really what I think just clinging to our culture, clinging to our history is something that inspires me to know kind of why I am still here, why I need to claim my identity and be louder and prouder about it, because no one else will be the same way that I am with it.
Correct. Yeah. And we lose those traditions. Like, I wasn't raised completely traditional. So
Absolutely.
I attended my powwows. We ate pretty, the fry bread and everything, and enjoyed the music and some of spiritual things. But yeah, being able to, my kids don't know anything about that. And my language died 2 generations ago with my great grandmother. So that's just kind of sad to see. So
yeah,
even if you're not full blood, because obviously I'm not,
no,
but
me
mixed Indigenous is still Indigenous. And I think that's just something to be proud of, and we can share it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's been my biggest thing. As I always explain that to people. They're like, "You're Native?" I'm like, yeah, I can show you.
I'm the whitest one in my family.
Yeah. And I think that we suffer the same things that many other folks with melanin in their skin, and honestly, with a lack thereof. Colorism is real. It is meant to, disenfranchise us from, or disconnect us from each other. And how do you do that? But also, how do you censor the voices of folks that experience the detriments of that more than folks that have white privilege or white passing privilege, but also recognizing that those folks can still have those cultural experiences that connect each other. It's been really, that's what I feel like the most informed on in terms of a connection to my identity. Is that was what my 4 years at Dartmouth felt like. I felt like I was a part of this larger, broader Indigenous community of folks from all over. And when I say all over, I literally mean Native people are all over. We were in Alaska, we were in Hawaii, Arizona, Washington, Oregon. Like and that's literally just the western side. Oklahoma folks, all the way up to Maine, Minnesota, Wisconsin. We are everywhere. And those folks in my community, I shared so many similarities too. So many moments where we really resonated with each other due to our experiences, and then us being at the same place at the same time and being like, whoa.
We're all Ganali, all friends.
Exactly. But yeah, Amber, this has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you. Actually, can I give a shout out for one of the person that actually facilitated the Accelerator was for Stitch Crew.
Absolutely.
Erica Lucas and them, they really know how to pump you up and give you the tools that you need to succeed. And I think without them, I wouldn't have as much oomph, I guess, to be able to do this on my own.
Yeah. Really skill builded and helped you understand. That's awesome.
They really helped for me to get confidence in what I'm doing in my business moves. So yeah, they were a great director, and they are notorious for being stitching people together because your net worth is in your network. Yeah. And yeah, that community and togetherness just on another platform of being with women is amazing to see too.
Yeah, that is amazing. Well, one last pitch for ClaimRev. Who are you looking for? Who gets in your network and gets to use your services?
Anybody can submit an insurance claim. Anyone can generate an 837 claim file. We can take and serve. So we have anywhere from small providers all the way up to Indian health contracts. So I love to just be able to help. And we are kind of notorious for being able to handhold through the process. So the people...
Not a bad thing.
Yes, no. Those big Avelities of the world. And then you saw the huge industry change with Change being cyber attacked.
Yeah.
And seeing that we're just all acceptable to it is kind of scary, but...
Absolutely.
Yep. So maybe they need to spread the wealth and stop having one company monopolize the entire industry. That way it gives a smaller and native a chance, because the bigger companies are the ones that have all the Indian health contracts, which is silly when there's native companies that could do it and do it just as well.
Absolutely. Preach on it. Yes. Well, Amber, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. And thank you so much for sharing your story, your culture, with our audience, and thank you so much.
Wado, I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Grow With Us. Grow With Us is supported by Tulsa initiatives. If you're interested in learning more about Tulsa services for job placement and workforce development, please visit talent.intulsa.com. From there, you can join our talent network where you'll get access to our newsletter, and our talent team will make sure we put the right opportunities on your radar. We put the choice to pursue a new career and opportunities in your hands. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify to be notified when more episodes of Grow With Us are released. Let us know what you think about how we're doing by rating and reviewing. It really helps. Grow With Us is edited and engineered by Rant9 Productions and Jesse Ulrich. This has been Grow With Us.